You are sitting in a small, cold room. The walls are concrete. There is one light bulb above you, and it flickers every few seconds. Outside the window, you can hear a city that sounds like silence. No honking cars, no music, no laughter. Just boots on pavement and the distant crackle of a government speaker reading propaganda into the empty streets. You are in Pyongyang, the most closed city on the planet. Your name on your passport says Daniel Park. You are a South Korean American businessman here to discuss a trade deal in agricultural equipment. That is the cover. That is the lie you have been rehearsing for 8 months. Your real name, your real job, your real reason for being here, none of that exists right now, because if it did, you would already be dead. 6 weeks ago, you were sitting in a CIA briefing room in Langley, Virginia. The officer across from you slid a folder across the table. Inside was a satellite image, a name, and 4 words that changed everything. He wants to defect. The man in the photo was General Ri Sung-jin, one of the top military advisors inside North Korea's inner circle, a man who had spent 30 years serving the regime, a man who, according to a back-channel message intercepted 3 months earlier, was now terrified of what was coming next. The CIA had been trying to get someone close to Ri for over a decade, and now, for the first time, the door was cracking open. But it had to be handled carefully. No drones, no satellites, no remote operations. Someone had to go in. That someone was you. You were chosen because of your background. You speak Korean fluently. You spent 2 years undercover in Seoul building relationships with defector networks. You have gone through SEER training, survival, evasion, resistance, escape. On paper, you are exactly the right person for this mission. In your gut, you feel like a man walking into a building that is already on fire. The flight from Beijing to Pyongyang takes about an hour and a half. You land at Sunan International Airport and immediately understand that everything here works differently. When you step off the plane, there are guides waiting. In North Korea, every foreign visitor is assigned government minders. They go everywhere with you, they eat with you, they wait outside your hotel room, they watch you sleep. Your minder's name is Mr. Choi. He is polite, he smiles constantly, but his eyes never stop moving. He is scanning you, reading you, memorizing the small details of your behavior. This is his job. He is very good at it. Your hotel is the Yanggakdo, a tall building on an island in the middle of a river, which means there is only one road in and one road out. It is not a coincidence. Foreign visitors are always placed in hotels that are easy to monitor and hard to leave. The rooms are almost certainly bugged, the phones are monitored, the staff report everything. You unpack slowly and carefully. You do nothing suspicious. You go to dinner in the hotel restaurant. You make small talk. You sleep exactly 8 hours. For the first 3 days, you do exactly what Daniel Park, the businessman, is supposed to do. You attend meetings. You look at spreadsheets about fertilizer and irrigation systems. You nod and take notes. You smile and accept tea. You are boring, invisible, exactly what you need to be. On the fourth night, you are walking back to your hotel after a government-organized dinner when you pass a street vendor selling small souvenirs, little brass figurines of Korean landmarks. Your minder is 2 steps behind you. You look at the vendor. He is an old man, maybe 70 years old, with weathered hands and a face that gives away nothing. He holds up one of the figurines and says something in Korean, a standard sales pitch to a foreigner. But inside those words, hidden in the rhythm of the sentence, is a phrase you memorized in Langley. The river runs north before it runs south. Your heart rate jumps. You keep your face completely still. You buy the figurine with cash, thank the man, and walk back to the hotel. In your room, with the television turned up loud to cover any audio surveillance, you examine the figurine. On the bottom, scratched into the brass in tiny letters, is a date and a location. 3 days, a park in the Moranbong district, 2 in the afternoon. General Ri is ready to meet. The problem is simple and enormous. You cannot go to that park without losing your minder. And losing your minder means going dark. And going dark inside North Korea is the kind of thing that ends careers and lives. You spend the next 2 days building up to it. You make yourself seem comfortable, predictable, easy to monitor. You joke with Mr. Choi. You tell him about your fake family back home. You learn that he has a daughter who likes drawing. You let him feel like he knows you. On the morning of the third day, you eat breakfast and then tell Mr. Choi you have a stomach problem. You spend 30 minutes in the bathroom. You come out looking pale, which is not hard because you have barely slept in 3 days. You ask to stay at the hotel and rest. Mr. Choi hesitates. Then he agrees. He tells you he will be downstairs and that you should call if you need anything. The moment his footsteps fade down the hallway, you move. You have exactly 40 minutes before someone checks on you. You use the maintenance staircase. You exit through a side door near the loading area. You walk north along the river, head down, moving at the speed of someone who belongs here. Not too fast, not too slow. The streets of Pyongyang are strange, wide, almost empty, swept clean. There are people, but they move quietly, heads slightly down, like they are all trying to take up as little space as possible. There are no advertisements, no billboards selling things. Only portraits of the leaders, only slogans on the walls. The whole city feels like a stage set, built to be looked at from the outside. You have a city map memorized. You have rehearsed this route 100 times in a mock-up back in Virginia. Your feet know where to go even as your brain is screaming at you to turn around. The park is beautiful in a way that feels wrong. Manicured trees, clean paths, a fountain that runs with clear water, a few elderly people walking slowly in the distance. You sit on a bench near the east entrance. You wait. At exactly 2 o'clock, a man in a dark coat sits down next to you. He does not look at you. He is looking at the fountain. He is older than his photo, thinner. There are dark circles under his eyes and a tightness in his jaw that tells you he has not slept well in a long time. He holds a newspaper in both hands like he is trying to keep them from shaking. You speak quietly in Korean. You tell him who you are. You tell him the code phrase. You tell him that people are ready to help him. He is silent for a long moment, then he speaks. What he tells you in the next 11 minutes will later be described in classified CIA reports as one of the most significant intelligence disclosures of the past 2 decades. He tells you about weapons programs, about internal power struggles, about a faction inside the military that is deeply afraid of the direction things are moving. He tells you that he is not alone, that there are others like him, men who served for 30 years and are now watching something they do not recognize from the inside. He tells you there is a plan in motion that the outside world does not know about, something that has to be stopped before a certain date. He passes you a folded piece of paper under the bench. His hands are trembling now. Then he stands up, folds his newspaper under his arm, and walks away without looking back. You sit on that bench for exactly 3 more minutes, staring at the fountain, breathing slowly, forcing your hands to stay still. Then you walk back. You make it back to the hotel. You get up the maintenance stairs. You are back in your room in 38 minutes. You call down to reception and tell them you are feeling a little better. You ask if Mr. Choi can come up when he gets a chance. You want to apologize for the inconvenience. Everything seems fine. It is not fine. That evening, at dinner, something shifts. Mr. Choi is still smiling, but his questions are different. He asks about your route back from Beijing. He asks which hotel you stayed at. Small questions, the kind you would not notice if you were not trained to notice them. Someone saw you, not necessarily someone who understood what they saw, but a face was logged, a report was filed, and somewhere in the machine of the North Korean surveillance state, a flag has been raised. That night you cannot sleep. You burn the paper from the park in the bathroom sink and flush the ash. You go over your cover story again and again until it is clean. You think about the extraction plan, a route through the Chinese border, a contact in Dandong, a safe house, a flight out of Beijing. You think about what General Rhee told you. You think about the date he mentioned. You have 4 days. On day 6 of your visit, 2 men show up at your hotel room at 8 in the morning. They are not hotel staff. They are wearing plain clothes, but they stand the way soldiers stand, feet apart, backs straight, hands at their sides. They tell you politely that there has been a small administrative issue with your visa and that you are needed at a government office to clear it up. It will only take a few hours. This is not about your visa. You go with them. You have no choice. Refusing would confirm everything. Your only move right now is to be exactly who you are supposed to be, a confused, slightly worried businessman who does not understand what is happening. The office is a gray building with no sign out front. You are taken to a room with a table and 2 chairs and a mirror on one wall that you know is a window. You wait for 40 minutes alone. This is deliberate. They want to watch how you behave when you think no one is looking. You sit calmly, you check your phone like a bored person waiting, you do not pace, you do not sweat. Then a man comes in. He is not in uniform, but he has the kind of stillness that comes from absolute authority. He sits across from you, opens a folder, and looks at you for a very long time without speaking. Then he asks you where you went on the afternoon of day 3. This is the moment. Everything you trained for comes down to this room, this table, this question. You look slightly confused. You say you stayed in your hotel all afternoon. You were not feeling well. You had a stomach problem. You asked Mr. Choi if you could rest, and you rested. The man writes something down. He asks if you left the hotel at any point. You say no. You ask if there is a problem. You let a small edge of anxiety enter your voice. Not too much, just the right amount. The kind of anxiety an innocent person would feel when questioned by a government official in a foreign country. He slides a photograph across the table. It is blurry. Security camera footage, probably. A figure walking along the river, head down. You look at it, you tilt your head slightly, you say you cannot tell who that is. The figure is not very clear. He says nothing. You say it again. You were in your hotel all afternoon. You ask if you should call your company in Seoul. You ask if there is a problem with your visa. You stay in your lane. You do not over-explain. You do not get defensive. You just keep being Daniel Park, a tired, slightly confused businessman who wants to go home. The session lasts 3 hours. He comes back twice. Different questions, same territory. He is looking for inconsistencies. He is looking for the moment when your story cracks. It does not crack. At 6 in the evening, they return your phone and your passport and tell you there was a misunderstanding. They apologize for the inconvenience. Mr. Choi is waiting outside to take you back to the hotel. You thank them, you shake hands, you leave. You have 2 days left on your visa. You cannot leave early. That would look suspicious. You cannot make contact with anyone from the outside. Your only job now is to survive 48 more hours and get to the border with the information that is locked inside your head. On the last night, there is a farewell dinner. Government officials, handshakes, photographs. You smile in every single one. You make a toast to future cooperation. You mean none of it. The next morning, you are at Sunan Airport at 7 a.m. Mr. Choi sees you through security. He shakes your hand at the gate and wishes you a safe journey. He smiles. You smile. You board the plane to Beijing. You sit in your seat. You put your seatbelt on. You put your head back. The plane taxis down the runway. It lifts off. The ground falls away below. You stare out the window at the gray skyline of Pyongyang getting smaller. You do not breathe fully until you are over the border. 42 hours later, you are in a debriefing room at a CIA station in Seoul. There are 3 officers across from you. One of them is taking notes so fast her hand is shaking. The other 2 have not looked up from their phones since you started talking. Your name will not appear in any report. The mission will not be acknowledged. The risk you took will live in a classified file that no one outside a small room in Langley will ever read.